Right, hey everyone, I'm Klloo. So, as much as I like what we were doing with Dromai in the last one, there is something very big we overlooked. You can probably tell with the light cards, right? I'm settling on Prism, and that is Luminaris. Luminaris is not banned in Blitz. So, yeah, that's a thing, right? While there is a yellow card in your pitch zone, Illusionist attacks have Go Again. That is insanity when you open up the playing field with Phantasmal Symbiosis, right? This card is already busted. We all know fully well that this card is very strong. But then the fact that all we have to do is name an Illusionist card, right? So when this attacks, name a card. Cards with that name are Illusionist until the end of your turn. We can give any attack in the game that we have access to, so generic light, or I guess Illusionist, but mainly generic and light, infinite Go Again. And it's not a color, it's just name a card. So if we look specifically at cards with 3 of a kind, that is pretty substantial and just the combo I think we want to utilize. So as much as I liked the idea of, again, building to one specific card, don't think we have to, right? Red Hot could have been fun. I'll probably get to it, because I'm sure Prism at some point is going to allow out of Blitz, or we might want to try it in Classic Construct, in which case it'll either be Prism or with a different weapon, though, or the new Illusionist, right? Because Dromai's definitely going to leave Classic Constructed. But yeah, all the concept is Dreamweavers into Phantasmal Symbiosis. You'll have a yellow pitch, hopefully, right? And it has Go Again. It loses Phantasm. You don't need the potions like we were trying to stack up with Dromai. You can then name anything you want. And I think the go is honestly just Snatch, right? All 6 copies of Snatch become Illusionist. All 6 copies of Snatch gain Go Again. And all 6 have the ability to draw a card. You then chuck in Fractal Replication at the end of the chain. And although it does have Phantasm, because it will gain it off of Phantasmal Symbiosis, it will have as many snatches as you have played worth of draw, which is huge. Yet 2 Phantasmal Symbiosis is off, though. That's when it gets a little bit crazier. Now, I have Overload. Overload's probably not the best pick, but I just like the idea of it being a 0-cost Dominate that now is Go Again, right? Just throw them all out there. There are ways to buff. Art of War, we don't need the Go Again effect at all. So we can basically just use these to draw and plus. So even Blue Overload would be 3 with Dominate, right? This would be 4 with Dominate, 5 with Dominate, plus the Snatches. The Fractal Replication would then have Dominate and the draw effects, right? We can definitely find something juicier. But again, Luminaris just means now we don't care what attack it is. Well, I should say the only thing we care about the attack is the cost, because it will have Go Again. And if it has a strong effect, that's just even better. Tenacity, Go Again. Last Ditch Effort, even if it's not the last card in play. So let's Go Again. There are tons of other cards with just minute buffs that, again, if we just stack them all in the chain, Fractal Replication does the trick. So the question is, how do we go positive in draw? How do we gain enough resources to do all this? Because Snatch, 0 cost, that's fine. The only thing we need is cards, right? I mean, overall, this combo would cost 1. Phantasmal Symbiosis for 1, and then snatch as much as you can into Fractal Replication. They don't have Phantasm. They can't be popped. Combat Chain can't end until we get to the Fractal Replication. So the idea is hopefully you drain all possible blocks because they want to prevent the draw, and then you have a big attack at the end. So that's where Vestige of Souls comes in. If a card has been put into your hero's soul this turn, when you pitch a light card, instead gain that many resources plus 1. What this means is a lot of the reasons why these cards become neutral draw or negative draw is because of the resource point. Cash in, for instance. If it's only pitch 1 card, blue, gains 1, it now becomes an equal trade, right? We lose cash in and we lose whatever card we're pitching, but we're drawing 2 back, which is fine. We're going to stack up the pitch, which is okay, cycle through our deck, and look for cards. Art of War, Tome, right? 1 card to play all these that can then float into more resources. So we can actually then go about turning these in to more impactful draws, because we don't have to pitch. We don't lose a card. So if we take Mage Master, for instance, pitch a red, that now pays for Mage Master and Tome. we pitch a yellow. Now pays for Mage Master, Tome, and an Art of War. If we have other ways to gain, go again for the Tome, just putting in Lead the Charge, all the better. Tome of Divinity is another light card that we have access to, right? It's basically a Tome of Ferendale, but we don't need to go again. If a card is put into your hero's soul this turn, it doesn't have to be a light card, it can be any card, then we draw 3. So a 4 for 3, if we're only pitching a blue, is phenomenal. So how do we achieve that? Well, Halo of Illumination, a nice common card. Pay 1, destroy it, put a card from your hand into your soul. If it's a light, draw a card. So you can restock the card straight away if it's light, but more importantly, you can trigger all these other effects. We can trigger Vestige of Soul, and more importantly, we can trigger the Tome of Divinity. So now we just have to string it all together, and to my chagrin, it basically just plays like Melody, right? We're just drawing until we get the chain, and then we're just using the chain, right? So I'm going to peruse the attacks one more time, just see if there's anything else super interesting. But I think what we take is 2 sets. I was also curious about running gold, with the Wage Gold already being universal. They already get the trigger from Luminaris. They're already decent damage. They don't pop. Stacking up a bunch of gold could also be interesting off Fractal Replication. But it's only base ability, so stuff like Money Where Your Mouth Is wouldn't work. They would get the wage procs of each Wage Gold. So potentially you could then wage 6 times with Fractal Replication. And actually curiously, right, if the chain just ends, if the chain just ends, so if it's popped, they don't get gold tokens either, right? So even with Wage Gold and an Overload, you don't need the Phantasmal Symbiosis for the Wage Gold, you only need it for the Overload, but that's an easy way to give it Dominate. You also have stuff like the Herald of Erudition, which also has Dominate, which would then give Fractal Replication Dominate. So there are, again, lots of fun combos just off of this setup. Even just Phantasmal Symbiosis with Luminaris is so many possibilities. But yeah, I'm going to peruse the attacks one more time, and we'll see what we can think up now that it is literally just the entirety of the field of play, right? We don't have to worry about go again. We don't have to worry about generating action points. Luminaris will handle that, and Phantasmal Symbiosis will convert anything we want to Illusionist. I will say, I think it's probably better to have 3 of a kind, right? So for instance, Mischievous Meeps is a wonderful card, right? Suggested by Fish, but I'd rather, apply the Symbiosis to 3 cards, right? 6 cards in total. So stuff like Push the Point could also be interesting, because they might not proc it on themselves, but they'll have the ability to proc it on the Fractal Replication, which could then stack up a ton. Anyway, I will peruse, and then we'll see what we come up with. Well, I'm not too sure what's going on with Teleshare, but even Private is awfully slow. We'll go over the deck, and I'll leave testing for another time. So the concept is, right, we want primarily light and illusionist cards, right, so that we can benefit off of Vestige of Soul, and we can also, when we use the Halo of Illumination, actually redraw a card. That way it's a even trade, plus maybe float some resources. So all we're really doing is defending, playing defensively, which I'm sure there's better ways to do it with Illusionist, just looking through the cards. All I've really done is tacked on the Angels in blue for the end of the deck. But yeah, so defend. Eventually we draw into Phantasmal Symbiosis, and then we can start our little chain where we play Phantasmal Symbiosis, we name Snatch, and then we use Snatch to continue drawing and hopefully stringing together attacks, right? Because it doesn't have to be Snatch into Snatch, it can be Snatch into the Heralds or anything like that. Although we do sort of want to avoid Phantasm, which makes me think I want to put Wage Gold in instead, or maybe even just a cheaper cost card. But again, the best scenario is 2 Phantasmal Symbiosises in a row, and that way you can name 2 different generic cards or 2 different whatever cards we're running, and then play all of them. They benefit off of Luminaris, which hopefully is activated off the Halo of Illumination. The first Phantasmal Symbiosis is Lost Dreamweaver, or the second one, probably the second one, right? And that way we've got the first effect just running. Does it? Although go again. Has Go Again not... Does Go Again still trigger off of the pop in this scenario? I think it does, right? If not, again, just aim for 1. And then, yeah, Snatch is our payoff card. Is kind of lackluster, right? I like the idea of the Last Ditch Effort as well, where we just try to thin out our whole deck and then eventually go Phantasmal Symbiosis into Last Ditch Effort a couple times into Fractal Replication, which works a lot better now because we have the Go Again and everything. But yeah, so Halo Illumination activates Vestige of Soul. Vestige of Soul activates some other cards, mainly gets us those extra resources, and then we can hopefully go into some of our actual just attack strings, and it's very tempo heavy, right? And Art of War is basically just used as the plus and to recycle cards. So hopefully get 2 of that off. You get +2 to every attack. You get Phantasmal Symbiosis off, so that Snatch is now a Illusionist attack with Go Again. Doesn't have Phantasm, which makes it a lot better. Hopefully you then draw off of it. Even if you don't off the first few, you should get to the point where you can just draw, right? The ideal hand that you end up with in my head is going to be Phantasmal Symbiosis, a light Illusionist card, and Snatches, right? So you play Halo of Illumination, you pitch that light card, you draw something back. You can then play Phantasmal Symbiosis, hopefully with the floated pitch, because if you pitched a yellow, right, one pays for that, and then the other goes into activating Luminaris, so this has Go Again, and then the Snatch Chain into just more attacks. And if you get the draw engines, right, Art of War is probably better. Cash In can probably be cut out of the deck since we're not running Crown of Dominion, right? When I was running Crown of Dominion, that's when I was thinking Cash In for the draw. But I think we actually cut that out. I think we cut out one Tome of Faerendel as well. Maybe even both and get rid of the boots and just stick to Tome of Divinity since it is instant. I think that alone would be much better because then you could actually hopefully cycle into just more attacks, right? Because you can get rid of an attack, you get rid of one of the angels, for instance, to try and look for Snatch off Art of War. And then Tome of Divinity is hopefully pitch an angel to find more cards. And then, yeah, just the end sequence is Phantasmal Symbiosis, Snatch a few times, and then Fractal Replication. Whether or not it'll be successful, we'll have to see. But yeah, we'll leave it there. I'll do some testing and maybe a little bit of fine tuning. If you have any suggestions for the deck, even if it's what cards actually run instead of Snatch, or even just the more defensive kit for Illusionist, that'd be great. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Those are the 2 spins. So Red Hot with Dromai, and now I guess just Snatch Illusionist with Prism. But again, you can practically make any generic work just between Luminaris and Phantasmal Symbiosis. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See ya.